This is part 2 of the review for SOG Flash II. As I was saying on the previous one, I'm going to get into the finger grooves. If you'll notice here, there's 2 finger choils, one I guess for the index finger, and one for your middle finger. The middle finger groove is cut significantly more deeply than for the index finger, and personally this is one feature of the knife I don't like. I generally grip them in a hammer grip like this, but if you'll notice, this deep finger groove ends up putting the middle finger, further up on the handle and wrapping around it, and if I do the hammer grip, I'm just squashing my middle finger, against the corner of this handle, which I do not like. For me, it's more comfortable with forward grip edge in. I mean, strangely enough, this works. It's a little better in reverse grip, and this ice pick edge in grip is pretty comfortable as well. But this handle is just one feature I don't like. If you have small hands, or even smaller hands than I do, you can just hold it at this finger choil like this, and I think it's a more secure grip. You won't have much sticking out at the end for striking with the butt of the knife, though. But yeah, I mean, it seems like not a lot of people have issues with this grip, but this is just a bit of warning out there. And the next feature is this lock, the piston lock. I think, when I first saw it, I was like, hey, what kind of lock is this? It took me a while to figure out. But after analyzing the structure, like inside the knife and all, I realized the locking mechanism is almost like an axis lock. And for those of you who don't know, axis lock is probably the strongest locking mechanism on any folding knife. Pretty much, when it opens, you see as it opens, once it gets to a certain point, this piston will shoot in, kind of like the axis lock, and if you take it apart, it's pretty much just a bar that goes like this, and it prevents the knife from closing because the inside part of the blade is going to catch on this pin, and that's what's gonna stop it. So, I mean, I haven't done any spine whack tests, but just looking at the mechanism, I think it's a pretty strong lock. And oh yeah, there's this one thing here, the safety feature. You can click, right now it's clicked in the off position, you can click it on. And if you'll notice, when it's on, I cannot open the knife. The knife is locked shut, and this is primarily for those people who worry about the knife opening up in your pocket. I know that has happened with some other knives, and considering where your pocket is, that's probably not something you want to happen with yours, but I've always left it in the off position. The knife has never drifted open in the pocket for me, so that's a really good thing. And yeah, I've never really had any problems with it. However, some other people like to super glue it in this position because they've had problems with this safety drifting into the on position when they're not aware of it, and suddenly they pull out their knife, they want to cut something, won't open. And it doesn't take much imagination to see how that could be a very bad thing in a self-defense situation where you suddenly need to access your knife. So they use super glue to be safe. I think one added bonus of this safety feature that people don't get into is that lend some credibility to this as more of a utility knife than a self-defense knife. And for legal reasons, every knife you carry should always be a utility knife. Or I'm not advocating carrying a knife where it's not allowed, of course, but in any case, even if it's legal, some officer might be suspicious of it. But if you see that coming up, just flip it on. Hey officer, it's just a utility knife. See, I can't even open it like this. It's just for utility purposes, and perfectly legitimate, officer. So I mean, I guess your mileage may vary. That's just one benefit I saw of it. Oh, alright, next topic, quality control. This is actually one issue. I've heard more complaints about this knife than a lot of other knives. And when this knife came in the mail, I was expecting it to have a V grind, just, an even bevel, but I was surprised to find that it wasn't so. It was pretty lopsided, almost like a chisel grind, so that on one side, it's really ground, and the other side it's almost not ground at all. So maybe on a V grind, if it would be like this, on this knife it was like this. And that shouldn't really affect much. Chisel grinds do have their advantages, but one of their disadvantages is that they lose the edge retention pretty quickly. So I mean, I just took it on my Spyderco sharp maker and tried to even out the grind. not much luck with that. It takes a lot of time, but I feel like with more sharpening it'll get there, so no big deal. The other issue that I didn't like was the lateral blade play. I mean, I can just wiggle this quite a bit. I can feel it. I mean, a few hours after I got mine, I ran through some openings and I could hear the blade rattle side to side already. If you just listen to that, you know, it doesn't really feel nice. Again, it shouldn't affect performance, but that's just one more thing I don't like. When I get the chance, I'm going to get a Torx driver and tighten up this pivot screw. That should hopefully fix up the problem. In terms of up and down blade play, other people have said this, very little. I mean, you know, of course it's going to increase with time, but you know, it really hasn't been a problem. This knife has no liners inside, so that's kind of to be expected as well. Next issue, the pocket clip. As you can see, it's mounted on the end, which is of course good if you want to carry it very low profile in the pocket. As you can see here, this knife hardly sticks out of the pocket at all. All people would see is a pocket clip. They're like, you know, what is that? It might as well be a pen or anything. As opposed to I have the Recon 1 here, which sticks out of the pocket a lot. So people who know what to look for, they'll say, oh, he's got a knife. But, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages. I mean, with the Recon 1, since there's so much of the handle sticking out, it's easy to grab and pull out. Whereas, with the Flash II, not so much. One method I kind of found out through experimentation, which I recently learned is called boosting, involves just putting your fingers down here, near the bottom of the knife in your pocket, and you can, from the outside of the pocket, just push it up.